Right now.
Okay, thanks, Elijah. So being 6:30 and having quorum, I'll open the Town of Bridgewater Planning Board meeting for January 20th, 2021. Before we open up our first, we have no public hearings this evening, but we do have a couple of public meetings. So I will, I'll open up, I'll read the governor's 2020 order suspending certain provisions of the open meeting law, chapter MGL chapter 30A, section 18, of the governor's March 15th, 2020. Order imposing strict limitations on the number of people that may gather in one place. This meeting of the Bridgewater Planning Board will be conducted via remote participation to the greatest extent possible. No in-person attendance of members of the public will be permitted, but every effort will be made to ensure that the public can adequately access the proceedings in real time. The meeting is being recorded. Within 48 hours, we will post a link of the recording on the town's website and/or the town's social media pages. The following members of the Bridgewater Planning Board will be participating remotely this evening. I'm Patrick Driscoll, the chair, Mr. Raymond DeGemian, the vice chair, Mrs. Jean Garino, the clerk, Mr. Michael McDonald, Mr. Stephen Geller, and Ms. Astrid Rojas. During the meeting, all the votes of the board will be taken via roll call. The following Bridgewater town staff will also be participating remotely. Ms. Jennifer Burke, the Community Economic Development Director, Mr. Elijah Romulus, the Assistant Town Planner, and Mrs. Leslie Dorr, the Office Administrator. At this time, everyone's mic is muted. The board's mic will be unmuted through the whole meeting, and as items appear on the agenda, the project's representative mics will be unmuted. If a project is a public hearing and allows for public comment, we ask that you use the chat feature to ask your question by listing your name and address and the question. The chair will recognize the questions in order. You can also use the raise my hand feature in the participant menu, and you will be unmuted when the chair recognizes you. Again, tonight we have no public hearings, just 2 public meetings. Again, please state your name and address before asking a question. If you're on the phone, you can dial *9 to raise your hand. So with that being said, Mr. Romulus, we have 2, and I didn't say Mr. Antonero because he is not here this evening, correct?
That's correct. He will not be joining us tonight.
So the first public meeting we have is 232 Beach Street, which is Quail Hollow LLC. Mr. Romulus?
Yes, so we had an A&R application. I believe the applicant or the applicant's representative is here on the meeting. If you would like to discuss the project, I know that this is, I think, the 3rd variation of it. So if you could please, just explain it to the board. I see Mr. Koska or Mr. Gormley.
Okay, there you go. Go ahead. Go ahead. Okay, for the record, my name is Michael Koska, representing actually Gail Shallon and Mr. Arthur Shallon in their endeavor to get a retreat lot that was brought through the planning board and approved by them with the 21-day appeal period going by, and the decision being recorded in book 53883, page 41, which is in the box in the middle top of the plan that's in front of you. Has 60 feet of frontage, which meets the requirement, 150,000 square feet. And we're hoping that the board would sign the plan so they could record it. And they're building a house for the nephew.
So, Mr. Koska, this plan is just simply, the first plan that you submitted had the retreat lot labeled not a buildable lot.
Correct.
The second plan you submitted, you've obtained ZBA approval. It's gone through the appeal period and you're just basically removing that language.
Correct. As you can see on the lot itself, there's nothing that says that it's not to be considered a buildable lot. We went through the proper channels to, under the retreat lot bylaw, to allow it to be buildable from all the ZBA standards that are set forth in the zoning bylaws.
Okay. Mr. Romulus, Ms. Burdick?
I don't see any issue. It does meet the lot size requirements as well as the frontage requirements based on the ZBA special permit.
Any comments from members of the board? No? That being said, do we have a motion to endorse?
I'll make the motion to endorse.
It's by Mr. Jemian. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Was that Mr. Geller or Mrs. Guarino? Who wants it?
Either one, we both do.
All right.
Jean.
Mrs. Guarino,
Okay.
any discussion on the plan? So Mr. Ramos, how will we sign this plan? Will we use the electronic signature? Do you need me to come in this week?
We would need you to come in to sign it.
Okay, just myself or Ray. All right, so so I'll do the roll call. Mr. Geller,
Yes,
Mr. McDonald? Did
Yes.
Michael- oh, okay,
I'm sorry, Mike's having an issue.
that's all right. Mr. Guarino,
Yes.
Mr. Jemian,
Yes.
and I'm a yes. Thank you, Mr. Costa.
Thank you very much, members of the board, for your time this evening. Again, thank you.
Thank you.
Good night.
Good night.
Okay. So I'm going to ask if we can continue to item 3 from item 2. I have a conflict with Stonehill Lane. I am involved in it and I live there. So I'll sign off after we go through the items in number 3, and you guys can finish without me if that's okay. So we have minutes to be approved from 12/2/2020. There were minutes attached. Did everybody have a chance to read them? And do we have a motion to approve if everybody's okay with them?
I did look at them, so I can make a motion to approve.
I looked at them briefly as well. Second, after Jean.
yep, I'll second it.
So Mr. Geller?
Yep.
Any discussion on the minutes of 12/2/2020? Okay, so roll call, Mr. Jemian,
Yes.
Mrs. Guarino,
Yes.
Donald,
Yes,
Mr. Geller,
Yes,
and I'm a yes, okay. So do we have any board or committee reports? Okay, how about director's report, Ms. Burke, Mr. Ramos?
Yeah, I do have a brief presentation I'd like to give the board this evening, if that's okay with the board.
Sure. Any
Sure
objections?
thing.
It will be brief, I promise.
Well, We're already 6 minutes beyond Steve's requested end time, so.
Okay. I'm just going to take the screen sharing away from Elijah for a second. So I have been in conversations for the last few months or so with some potential developers of what we probably know as the Perkins property, 168 to 180 Broad Street. It includes the vacant house in the front and then the foundry, I believe, in the rear. So this is a concept plan that they have shared with staff. Can you all see that? You all looking at that? Okay. So this is the proposed commercial retail building in the front, and then these are proposed residential units in the rear. I believe they're going to propose to build this under section 19, which is the mixed use under the central business district section of our bylaw. The caveat to that, though, is if you can see this faint dotted gray line, if you follow my cursor, that goes right through sort of the front of the residential building right here. That is actually the zoning district line, and the front half is zoned central business district, but the rear half is zoned industrial. So we're putting forward with Councilor Wood, I believe, a zoning amendment to rezone the entire parcel central business district so that this project would be allowed. You can see some of the, on the side here, some of the project summary. Some of this may have changed after some of our conversation. This is the original concept that they presented to staff, and then we had some conversations with them on some stuff regarding the zoning and the amount of commercial space and the height and things like that. So I think they're tweaking some of those things, but I know that they've gone to conservation to get a ANRAD approved, and I believe that was approved at conservation's meeting last Thursday. And they're working with several companies to do the engineering and the environmental discovery and things like that. So they're moving forward with this project. They're very interested in, developing here in Bridgewater, and we're excited to have them come on board. I told them that I would give the planning board sort of a brief high-level overview of the project, and then see if the planning board would like to either have them come before you prior to a full submittal, or if the planning board wanted to have any, in-depth conversations about it before, so that they knew what direction to go. I just wanted to give you guys sort of a brief, high-level overview of what is coming down the line, because I'm sure you've heard rumors and Facebook and whatnot. So I just wanted to, get out there what is really being proposed. There is one other potential zoning change I should make you aware of that we're working on is they would like to not put commercial in the rear here and have this all as residential because of how far back it is off the road, and it's sort of hidden behind all these other buildings sort of in the front on Broad Street, and it just doesn't make sense for it to be, commercial. It's not viable as any kind of commercial building. So they've asked to have some language put into the zoning that buildings, I think it's 200 feet off of the street, be not required to have commercial on the first floor. So we're looking at potentially proposing that too. I haven't talked with Councilor Wood about that yet, but my plan is to do that this week. So, but I wanted to give you guys a heads up on that. So I don't know if anybody has any specific questions or any comments at the moment, or if you'd like me to ask them to come to one of your upcoming meetings and they can give you a more in-depth presentation. It's completely the board's decision.
Board members, questions, comments for Ms. Burke?
Well, I just, two things come to mind. One, we're going to require a zoning change, and I think that should be looked at carefully, considering the fact that when the zoning was first, when people put together the zoning for Broad Street, they had certain things in mind, and now we're talking about changing it, which is a possibility. That said, I think the best thing, my feeling is that they come before the board and give a detailed overview without doing anything specific, so that if the board in its so-called wisdom decides that it's not quite the right thing for the place, then they won't have to spend too much money and so forth. So I think my point is, I think they should come before the board with the general concept.
Okay. Anyone else?
Just a question for you, Ms. Burke.
Yes.
So the entire project, the entire property would be in the central business district, correct?
That's the proposal, is to just rezone their property. So the entire property is within the central business district.
So our mixed use zoning already allows for us to remove so I think the language that we have is, and I think Councilor Colin Bodas was the one that helped craft it, is that we could, rear buildings. I think the idea is if you wanted to put townhouses or residential in the rear, you didn't have to do it on the first floor. That's already in there, as long as it's in the street facing building or the street fronting building.
Mm-hmm.
But we still require a 30% commercial component of this. So that 200 feet, there's no attempt to negate that 30% commercial requirement, correct?
I haven't spoken to them about that. I don't believe there is. I've mentioned to them in our previous meeting that there is a 30% requirement. So they are aware of that. We haven't, I don't know that they've, fully designed or thought about that. I did tell them that the requirement was 30%. if you weren't going to do it all on the first floor of every building. So.
Because perhaps, and then just looking quickly, I think mixed use always, is that gray parking in front of that front building?
Yes, there's some angled parking in front here, and then as well as some parking in the rear here for this building. And then I believe all the other parking would be for the residential.
So I think we'd want to encourage him to pull that up to the street based on our zoning and put the parking in the rear on the side, correct?
Yeah, I did mention that to them. They did have a reason for that. I don't have it in front of me. I think they felt that it was easier for people to get in. I don't recall the answer to that, to be honest with you. But if they come back before you, we can have them address that question.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, my only comment would be is that if we do change the zoning to CBD, we'd want to have that 30% commercial requirement met. I don't think they need to change the 200-foot setback because we can already do that, you know? So.
Anybody else?
I think I agree with Ray. I'd like to see what they're going to propose to put there. And just because I want to see them, I don't want them going down the wrong road, you know, like that other development. And I think that I think you should really make sure that they're going down the proper channels before they come to us only to find out that they may have to go to another board, you know, like what happened up the street.
Right.
Suddenly they had to go to ZBA. I
Right.
thought kind of wrong, but
Right, which is one of the reasons I wanted to do this and get
Right.
your opinion first.
you know, I know these developers put a lot of time and money into these things, so I think the more open we are with them, the better.
I can certainly reach out to them and ask them, you know, what they would like to do. We've got I believe, some flexibility in our schedule coming up. We don't have a lot of things on our agenda, so I can see what they'd like to do.
And I guess I'm not quite sure that it would actually be a public meeting, because I don't know if we really, at this time, I don't know. I guess
Well, it wouldn't be a public hearing, but all of your meetings are open public meetings.
right, but I mean, I don't know if it's really the chance for the public to speak.
No, I mean, it would be at the board's discretion if they wanted the public to speak. Good, it's not a public hearing. There's no requirement to allow any public to speak at this time.
Just look at this, they could make that whole front building all commercial too, right? Building one.
Yep.
Well, that's what I think they're doing. It's just proposed retail.
No, I'm saying that's all right. I mean, I don't want to get too into it. It's saying 3 stories, but only 1 story is commercial.
Yeah, I don't know that we should dissect the plan too much
Yeah.
without having them in front of us. So, Jean, did you have any comments initially, or did you want to wait till they can come before you? You're on mute, Jean.
I was clearing my throat, so I didn't want to hear it. Yeah, no, it'd be good to have them come before us and kind of get it all squared. Then we know where we're going.
All right, that sounds good. Michael or Astrid, do either one of you have any comments?
Nothing at this time.
And, could I just ask a question? Did they say anything, Jennifer, about possibly somehow connecting with Ironworks? Doesn't that land go back to?
I don't think it goes that far back.
No.
I can look on a bigger map and look. And if that's the case, we can certainly ask for that, but I don't know that it goes that far back.
Yeah, okay.
Can you email us these documents, or this document?
I'll just double check with them that it's okay for me. These are their documents, and I just don't know if how far they want them shared. So I'll just double check with them.
Yeah, I think we should just look at all the impacts. I mean, because I'm just thinking quickly that 200 feet could affect the other side of the street where we have Campus Plaza. I don't know where that building sits, but we certainly don't want to have unintended consequences and have that become 70% residential on the first floor or something like that, you know, so we just got to really look at it.
Okay.
And make sure the commercial components met, so.
Okay. I will reach out to them and have them see if I can schedule something at one of your upcoming meetings.
Yeah, I think we're pretty light on the 3rd and the 17th, right? What days do we have?
Yeah, right. I think right now on the 3rd you have one item, and on the 17th, I don't know that we have anything right now.
Don't have anything on the 17th, and we have.
Yeah, maybe invite them on the 17th, though.
Well, I'll see what works with their schedule.
All right, great.
All right. Thank you for
Um,
indulging me.
Can I check out? Ray, do you mind taking over?
Thank you, Jennifer.
You're welcome.
I do, but I will. That's what you're here for, Pat. All right, can we go back to the agenda, please?
Yeah, oh, let me get off. Hold on. Good night, everyone.
Night,
night,
Pat.
Pat.
Thank
Good
you.
night.
Thanks, Pat. All right, the last thing on the agenda is Stonehill Lane C&D Realty Trust, and it's requesting laying out accepting for private way and bond release request. Elijah, Jennifer, anyone want to go over it, please?
Yes, so the council is sending this to the board for a non-binding recommendation on the street acceptance. The applicant also asked for a bond release. I was alerted that I should advise the board that if the board is to, accept a release, that it should be contingent upon the council accepting the street.
Okay,
And with the release of funds, I would just advise that we keep $5,000 for drainage basin maintenance.
and I read based on what you presented, the highway department and God, who else have said that it is, if they have met their requirements for street acceptance, correct?
That's correct.
And what is the issue on the bond release?
Just that it makes sure that the street it's tied to being accepted by the council prior to being released.
Maybe somebody explain to me why that's the case. I mean, we have released bonds prior to street acceptance before, have we not?
We have not released the entire bond prior to street acceptance is what they're asking for. So we've reduced
Oh, okay.
bonds to a certain amount based on the work that's been completed. They're asking for a complete release because the road is being accepted. The suggestion is that we do it contingent upon council accepting the road. I don't anticipate there being a problem with street acceptance, but we just want to protect ourselves in case something comes up.
Okay, and of course, we will still keep the $5,000 in either case.
Correct.
Right, okay. Any questions from the board? Going once? Going twice?
Pretty straightforward.
Steve? Mr. Geller?
No. Pretty straightforward.
Okay. Then I will accept the motion.
I'll make the motion to accept the layout. Pending pending council approval, or release the bond with a hold of $5,000 for what do you say,
Drainage.
drainage maintenance.
I'm sorry, Mr. Gelli, did you say that we released the bond based on the acceptance of the private acceptance of the street,
Correct.
except for the $5,000?
With a hold of $5,000 for drainage maintenance.
Okay. Is there a second to the motion?
I'll second it.
Any discussion on the motion? All in favor say, oh, excuse me.
No.
First time. Mr. Geller,
Yes.
Ms. Guarino,
Yes.
Mr. McDonald,
Yes.
and I'm a yes. That's it. We've done everything else, and I will accept the motion to adjourn the meeting.
I'll make a motion to adjourn the meeting tonight.
Motion's made to adjourn the meeting. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Second's been made. Any discussion? Mr. Geller?
Yes.
Mr. McDonald?
Yes.
Ms. Garino,
Yes.
and I'm a yes. Meeting's adjourned.
Thank you, everybody. Have a good evening.
Have a good night, everyone.
Thank you, you
Thanks.
too.
Want to note that it's before 7 o'clock.
Wow.
55.
We should do this all the time, folks.
There you go. Have a good night, everybody.
Good night.
Good night.
Everyone.